a slow day, I can have a three-way chat with two women at one time. I'm so much cooler online. Yeah, I'm cooler online. Hey, I'm so much cooler online. Yeah, I'm cooler online.
Ladies and gentlemen, this afternoon's legislative session will begin in 2 minutes. Please take your seats.
I got a little change in my pocket going ting-a-ling-a-ling. Wanna call you on the telephone, baby, and give you a ring. But each time we talk, I get the same old thing. Always no hooky, no kissing until I get a wedding ring. Oh, my honey, my baby, don't put my love upon no shelf. She said, don't hand me no lines and keep your hands to yourself. But baby, 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 why you treat me this way? You know I'm still your lover boy. I still feel the same way. That's when she told me a story about free milk and a cow. She said no hooky, no kissing until I get a wedding vow. My honey, my baby, don't put my love upon no shelf. She said don't hand me no lines and keep your hands to yourself. Talking about true love, started talking about sin. I said, honey, I live with you for the rest of my life. She said, no hooky, no kissing until you make me a wife. Honey, my baby, don't put my love upon no shelf. She said, don't hand me no lines and keep your hands to yourself.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome USBC President Andrew Kane.
I think those lights are a lot brighter than they were earlier. Okay. Well, welcome back from lunch, everybody. I hope everybody had a chance to get some food, and we're all energized and ready to go with our legislative session. Before we get started, if you do not have a voting device and you are a registered delegate, please raise your hand and staff will bring you one. Also, I would like to recognize our 2 delegates that were appointed to sit with staff during the legislative session and also be on hand to verify the voting for the board elections. They're in the back here with our staff. We have Jan Thielgaard, the president of Loveland Estes Park USBC. And we have Darvis Lee, president of Gold Country USBC. Now to the podium, please welcome Legal and Legislative Committee Chair Tamara Adams to begin the legislative segment of our annual meeting.
Good afternoon. Did y'all have a nice lunch? Oh, I'm grateful. It's so much easier to deal with an assembly that isn't thinking about food. I want to thank Andrew, and good afternoon, everyone. As we enter this legislative session, please refer to your bylaws amendment booklet that you were given when you registered. Andrew, as president, will chair the session. I will announce each proposed amendment. If the proposed amendment comes from a committee and through the USBC Board of Directors, they do not require a second. And once announced, the amendment is on the floor for discussion. I will advise you of the recommendation from the United States Bowling Congress Board of Directors on each proposed amendment. The presenter of an amendment will be given the first opportunity to address the Assembly. Proposed amendments are primary amendments. An amendment to a primary amendment is defined by Robert's Rules of Order as a secondary amendment. If there is an amendment to one of the primary or proposed amendments that are listed in the booklet, we ask that when possible, these be submitted in writing for clarification and correctness. Secondary amendments to a primary amendment are voted on before action is taken on the original amendment, which appears in your booklet, and the chair will state the amended version. A delegate or registered attendee is allowed 2 minutes discussion, and when needed, a rebuttal of an additional 2 minutes. This rebuttal occurs once all first-time speakers have had the opportunity to address the Assembly. Please go to a microphone, and a USBC staff member will notify the chair. The chair will recognize the number of the microphone, and when it is your turn, please state your name and the association you represent. At that point, the 2 minutes begin. Discussion will continue until the chair deems it is appropriate to vote or there has been a call for the motion has been adopted. You should have received your electronic voting keypad that will be the equivalent to the written ballot. Please note that for any amendment needing ballot vote, President Kane will announce the numbers on your voting keypad to use. If you want to approve the motion on the floor, you will press 1. If you want to reject the motion on the floor, you will press 2. You may press the button many times, or you may change your mind. Only your last selection is registered and will count, and a green light will be indication that your vote has been registered on your electronic voting pad. For league and tournament rules, a majority vote is required to adopt. For any bylaws amendments, a 2/3 vote is required to adopt. So if you make a mistake during all of this, just quickly press the number you want, as again, the machines will only register your last vote. And of course, if you have a problem with your keypad, please raise your hand and a staff member will come and assist you. If you need to leave the room, you must surrender your keypad to a designated staff member, and you will be given another one when you return to the Assembly. Now I would like to introduce the individuals who are sitting here at the front that I may call on during this session to help answer questions. Members of the Legal and Legislation Committee, and listen, I know it's kind of crowded up there, so just kind of wave your hands. I'd hate for you to stand and fall or something. Not a single one of them is named Grace. Marcy Williams, Carl Keelick, Mark Martin, Kelly Kulick, Wendy McPherson, Mike Italia, Joe Diamond. From staff, we have the Managing Director of the Rules and Association Services, Mike Spritko. We have the brand new promoted Rules Manager, Laurie Smedick, and Rules Counselor, Ben Brose. And finally, I want to introduce our legal counsel and parliamentarian, Thor Lundgren. Now that we are all well versed with the procedures and people involved, let's get started. So please open your bylaws booklet to page 1. Page 5. Sorry. I can't hear you. Oh, lights in the audience, thank you. there. Does that make it better? Okay.
That actually helps me too, because now I can see.
We can't see you. But now we can. Okay. The first proposed amendment is LR1. It's Rule 104A, Team Captain's Authority, Item 3 of the United States Bowling Congress Playing Rules, Chapter 4, League Rules. If the proposer is in the assembly and would like to speak to the proposed amendment, please go to a microphone so you may be identified.
Chair will recognize the speaker at microphone 1. Microphone 1.
Can I speak now? Okay. I thought. Fellow bowlers and league officers, who are also board members and delegates, I speak before you regarding Rule 104A and proposal to delete, if requested, from the sentence and make it a requirement that the team captain give a reason when taking a bowler off of the team. It may seem that the two words, if requested, are just two simple words being deleted in Rule 104A, but have you ever been taken off of a team without explanation? I am a team captain both in leagues and tournaments too. A bowler was taken off of a team because the bowler injured his preferred bowling hand, but the bowler was ambidextrous and was able to score equally well with the other hand. A bowler was taken off of a team because the bowler didn't show up at the league because the bowler was taking care of his daughter, who was at ICU burn unit and would not be available for the next competition. I can go on for more instances and circumstances. Removing the two words, if requested, make it an obligation, a must-do by team captains to explain their actions, eliminating the possibility that they may be hiding discriminating actions or acting in a way that may be counter to the inclusive attitudes and policies of USBC and harm both reputation and business. There should be a good reason for removing a team member which stands up to the universal standards of transparency. A team captain will still be able to remove a bowler because he or she doesn't like him or her or some other personal reason, but they will have to do it openly. We are growing worldwide thanks to our USBC nationals. Our USBC state and local officers are working hard in their own backyard supporting us. Let's give them bigger things to take care of and pass this small request but big impact rule to Rule 104A. Thanks.
Is there any further discussion?
Mr. President?
Yes, ma'am.
I failed to post the recommendation from the board. The board recommends rejection.
Is there any additional discussion on LR1? Seeing none, we will proceed with the vote. If you please take out your devices. On Rule 104A, Team Captain's Authority, requiring a team captain to furnish a removed member, as well as league board good and sufficient cause for removal of said member, please press 1 to approve and 2 to reject. Okay. Polling is now closed. Wait for the results. On the screens, please. By your actions, you have rejected LR1. There we are. 28% in favor and 72% reject. There we are. There we are. Total vote count 228 for, 586 against. And to restate, by your actions, you have rejected LR1.
Proposed amendment TR1, Rule 308, distribution of prize funds, USBC playing rules, Chapter 6, tournament rules. The USBC board recommends adoption.
Is there any discussion on rule proposal TR1? Seeing none, we will proceed with the vote. Rule 308, distribution of prize funds, requiring rules for distribution of special prizes to be included in the tournament rules, and if not, Rule 308 applies. With your keypad, please press 1 to approve and 2 to reject. The polls are now open. Polls are now closed. We'll have it up on the screen shortly here. With a total of 88% for and 12% against, you have approved TR1. Total vote count of 719 for and 95 against.
Proposed amendment TR2, Rule 319A, conditions that apply, USBC playing rules, Chapter 6, tournament rules. The USBC board recommends rejection. If the proposer is in the assembly, he or she please go to a microphone to be identified so you may speak to your amendment.
Is there any discussion on rule proposal TR2? Seeing none, we will proceed with the vote. Again, with your keypad, please press 1 to approve and 2 to reject. The polls are now open. Polls are now closed. We'll have it up on the screens as soon as I announce it, just for clarification. But by your actions, with a total of 17% for and 83% against, you have rejected Rule TR2. The total vote count of 138 in favor and 678 against.
We will now move into the section of the legislation on bylaws amendments. B1 has been withdrawn by the USBC Board of Directors on advice of our legal counsel. B2, USBC National Bylaws, Article 4, Board of Directors, Section A, Eligibility and Composition. The USBC Board recommends adoption.
Is there any discussion on B2? Seeing none, we will proceed with the vote. With your keypad, please press 1 to approve and 2 to reject. The polls are now open. Polling is now closed. By your actions, you have adopted B2. Total of 95% for, 5% against. Total vote count of 767 for and 44 against.
Proposed amendment B3, USBC National Bylaws, Article 4, Board of Directors, Section A, Eligibility and Composition. The USBC Board recommends adoption.
Chair would like to recognize speaker at microphone 1, 2, 3, that's number 5.
Polly Maples, Smoky Mountain, USBC, and really I'm just asking for a total clarification. On B3, question number 1, not more than 12, can that be changed to 0 and this delegation not have a director to elect? Because 0 is less than 12. And 2, I know 20% has to be elected by the athletes because we are the NGB. But why are the other directors not being changed in this amendment? The directors as proprietors and the youth. And I need a clarification to know exactly how I'm voting.
In regard to your first question, it was put in there as not to exceed 12 in order to give the USBC board the option, especially at the first go with the delegate directors and the youth directors, to downsize the board. We have positions coming up in the next 2 or 3 years where we have your delegate directors who will not be eligible to seek another term. In a report, we have done research. I have a report here from Board Source of Nonprofit Governance where it indicates that a board of directors that governs an organization the size of ours and the money that we have jurisdiction over, that the number recommended is 16 board members. When you have a larger board at the level where we are, where what we do is strategic, it's easier and more effective to come to decisions. Remember that if this amendment is adopted, that the members of the board would be the ones that would make the decision on reducing the board. It has always been our goal from the time this organization was created that there would be a diverse representation on the USBC board, from the youth, from the athletes, because we are a national governing body, and from the delegates. I honestly can tell you I do not see delegate directors voting themselves down to 0. But we would like the opportunity to decrease the board as we see fit and not have to bring it back to the delegation each time we want to delete a position.
Is there any further discussion on B3? Chair will recognize the speaker at microphone 2.
Barnhart, there we go. Frank Barnhart, St. Louis Association. In answer to the lady who spoke, I'm sorry I didn't catch the name. We were going to submit an amendment to this proposal, but we've decided not to do so and to instead come forward with a separate proposal for voting at next year's convention. And I think Tamara's right. I don't see the board voting to go to 0 delegate directors. Although you are correct, the wording of this proposal would permit that. For this year, we already have 4 slates up for election, so there will be no reduction this year, and there cannot be any reduction until the next election. So our proposal that we will come forward with next year would be voted on prior to the next election, and that proposal would be to put limits on how low the numbers can go. I think that will address your concern for anybody who thinks that's something that needs to be protected against. If that alleviates your concern, you vote how you see fit on this, but I thought that might alleviate your concern on this year's proposal.
Chair would now like to recognize the speaker at microphone 5.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sorry, Bob Taylor. I'm with Southwest Florida Association. Again, this looks like an opportunity to usurp the power from the people who are sitting in this room. The legislation that we're looking at today, much of it does that very same thing. It reduces the power of the people sitting in this room that make decisions, representing the bowlers who pay the membership, who pays the salaries of the people who work at USBC, who pay for the things that we're trying to accomplish. Everybody's on the same page. Everybody wants to grow the sport. We've already are a minority, if you will. 12 is not a majority on a 25-member board. I hate to see it go any shorter than that, so just my opinion. Thank you.
The board has not discussed an exact program for how it would reduce it in size. I have worked with our legal counsel on doing this, and for it to maintain the diversity of representation among your delegate directors, your youth directors, your proprietors, and your athletes, it would have to be reduced proportionately. It would serve us no purpose to greatly reduce one size and not do it across the board, because we do want to maintain that diversity. But we do need the option to reduce the size of the board in the next 3 to 5 years.
Is there any further discussion on bylaws proposal B3? Seeing none, we will proceed with the vote. Polling is now open. With your keypad, please press 1 to approve and 2 to reject. Polling is now closed. By your actions, you have rejected Amendment B3. A total of 44% approve and 56% reject. The total vote count of 355 for and 458 against.
Proposed Amendment B4, USBC National Bylaws, Article 4, Board of Directors, Section A, Eligibility and Composition. The USBC Board recommends adoption.
Is there any discussion on Amendment B4? Seeing none, we will proceed with the vote. Polls are now open. With your keypad, please press 1 to approve and 2 to reject. Polling is now closed. By your actions, you have approved bylaws proposal B4. A total of 75% for and 25% against. We'll get you the total vote counts. 608 approve and 207 to reject.
Proposed Amendment B5, USBC National Bylaws, Article 4, Board of Directors, Section C, Terms. The USBC Board recommends rejection. If the proposer is in the assembly, please go to a microphone and be recognized so you may speak to your motion.
Chair will recognize the speaker at microphone 3, please.
Maureen Nelson, Great Salt Lake Bowling Association. With delegates no longer staying on the board for many years and current elections consistently adding new board members, term limits could limit the possibility of keeping hardworking and knowledgeable directors from serving the sport. Current directors have to go through the nominating committee along with other candidates and aren't automatically placed on the slate for re-election. They even run from the floor. Because of the growing interest of being on the board, current directors have to work hard to keep their positions, so re-election is not a given. The sport needs directors that want to serve and have the time and knowledge of the sport, instead of having them walk away from the organization that they love and supported. Forcing directors to end their service could hurt pertinent committees by the loss of continuity. Thank you.
Chair will recognize the speaker at microphone 3, please.
Sharon Shildroff, the Michigan State USBC Youth Delegate. As a state youth manager, it is great to see so many young directors such as Eric and Amanda and even Frank. One of the questions that came up in the Meet the Candidates session was about creating youth leaders. Under our current bylaws, these leaders could actually term out by the time they are 30 years old and never be allowed to run again in their lifetime. We value knowledge and experience and feel that those individuals who wish to continue to serve this organization should be allowed the privilege of doing so. I would like to recommend approval of this proposed amendment.
Mr. President,
Yes. Chair recognizes Madam Chair.
I urge you to vote no. We have an entire membership in which to pull candidates to sit on this board. Each year, candidates are turned down because the nominating committee places only a few on the slate. So there are candidates out there. Speaking as someone who has been blessed with a very long career at the national level, I strongly support term limits. We need new ideas. We need fresh faces. We need to give opportunities to you out there to have the same experiences we have had. As a committee chairman, I have taken it as my responsibility, as does the other members of this board that are committee chairmen, that we are mentoring, guiding, and passing on our knowledge so that the procedures and processes will continue. But we need new ideas at this level because we are strategic. And as one that this affects, I ask you to please vote no.
Chair will now recognize the speaker at microphone 3, please.
Holly Palmer, Cheyenne Women's Bowling Association. I just want a little bit of clarification that we're doing the national level and not local level. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any additional discussion on bylaws proposal B5? Seeing none, we will proceed with the vote. Polls are now open. With your keypad, please press 1 to approve and 2 to reject. Polls are now closed. By your actions, you have rejected bylaws proposal B5, the percentage of 24% for and 76% against. Total vote count of 200 for and 619 against.
Proposed amendment B6, USBC National Bylaws, Article 4, Board of Directors, Section E, Authority and Duties, Item 9. The USBC Board recommends approval.
Is there any discussion on proposed amendment for the bylaws B6? Seeing none, we will proceed with the vote. Polls are now open. Please press 1 on your keypad to approve and 2 to reject. polls are now closed. With a total of 73% for and 27% against, by your actions you have adopted bylaws proposal B6. Total vote count 592 for and 224 against.
Proposed Amendment B7, USBC National Bylaws, Article 6, Meetings, Section A, Annual Meeting, Item 4B. The USBC Board recommends adoption.
Is there any discussion on bylaws proposal B7? Chair would like to recognize the speaker at microphone 5, please.
Should I just use one word or should I say something? Ladies and gentlemen, if anybody increases their dues.
Please state your name and association, sir.
Excuse me. You call me by name. Jerry Anderson, Dallas, USBC BA. If anybody changes their dues at this point, it's going to be a black eye in USBC's face. It's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. Vote no. Thank you.
Chair will recognize the speaker at microphone 5, please.
Cheryl Pollock, Association Manager for the Greater Houston USBC. I understand why we have to do this. My only concern is not having a cap on the local dues. I have no problem if there are associations out there that need more money to operate and to have a local award program, but I think we're treading on dangerous water if you allow all of these local associations to set it to whatever limit they want. I still believe we need a cap on that limit on the local level. Thank you.
May I address that?
Yes, you may.
You heard in President Kane's remarks that the board has approved performance standards for the local associations. They will go into effect the 2014 season. Part of those performance standards addresses accountability. It addresses retention of membership. It addresses increased participations in your tournaments. Also, according to the USBC bylaws, the National Board still contains and maintains the right to monitor your association if your actions are detrimental to the promotion of the game. If there were a local association that put their dues sky high, number one, you're going to anger the proprietor. Number two, you're going to anger the member. And number three, you're going to put yourself out of business. We put the dues cap, we put this in this year because we as a board felt that the local associations could better provide for their members in recognition for their achievements. We didn't want to do this without allowing you the ability to increase your dues. Not all the local associations in this country are at a maximum, but they may have to go to that maximum in order to provide what they know by talking to their members will enhance the performance and the participation. So there are some safeguards about worrying about somebody is going to just go skyrocket with it. They have always been there. So we do urge you to vote yes, to give the associations the opportunity. Most of you, when you go for a dues increase at your locals, you don't just go ask for the dues increase. You let them know what you're going to do with it. Also, this proposal would allow that if your board of directors wants your delegation to vote on it, they could take it to their delegation or their membership. But it does give the primary authority in the hands of the board of directors. These are the people that have been elected to manage the association, to be accountable, and to perform their fiduciary responsibilities.
Chair will now recognize speaker at microphone 4, please.
My name is J.C. Armline from New York City, USBC. I support this amendment because we're at the max. We have awards. We do not have an awards program. One association, Bordering Awards, does. Give us the freedom. We're not going to hang ourselves. Each association is different. If you don't want to raise the dues, fine. But don't strangle me, who's an association, because I have to have the funds to have these awards. I'm not asking you to raise your dues, but at least give me the chance to do what's best for my bowlers. Thank you.
Chair will now recognize speaker at microphone 5, please.
Thank you, Andrew. Bob Ashley, President, Nation's Capital Area, USBC. We are also in favor of this amendment. Locals, we are the front lines. We know our bowlers better than anybody else, and we should have the say in what needs to happen. And in the seminars and things leading up to this, we were told, yes, we can establish our own procedures when it comes to setting our dues and how they're raised. So it's on us and it's on every local association to do the right thing. This will help us move forward. I vote in favor of this adoption. Thank you.
Chair will now recognize next speaker at microphone 5, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Sylvia Broyles, a delegate from the Greater San Antonio USBC. I do have a concern about not having a cap, but I don't really want to direct my remarks to that. I want to direct my remarks to the fact that the USBC Board of Directors has approved standards. Did we not have standards for our associations when we merged, and they were unable to police the associations? So if in fact, if the USBC board approved that, please have a means of doing exactly what you say you're doing. Because as you know, we didn't have the personnel then to do it, and I don't see any change in the personnel.
Sylvia, we were guaranteed before the board approved the standards that we have not only in place the ability to educate you on the standards, to assist you in meeting the standards, to monitor the standards, and when help is needed in an association, to provide it. They're not the 25 standards you had before, they're only 6.
Chair would like to recognize speaker at microphone 3, please.
Rod Sheldrock, Greenville BA and WBA, and also the Michigan State USBC Youth. I look at the areas that are addressed on this. I do not see anything about the unmerged associations where it shows the youth being included in this membership dollars, or the states either. So has there been anything done to include them or give them that latitude?
Madam Chair.
Pardon, Andrew?
You wish to respond?
I think Frankie should, since it's a youth question. Are you referring to any unmerged association?
No, ma'am. What I'm looking at is the people that are addressed here as far as associations. You list the national bylaws where it's adopted. The state BA, WBA, the merged local associations, local BA bylaws, local WBA bylaws, and playing rules. It does not anywhere in there list anything concerning your unmerged associations where there's youth, where they have their own association, and also your state youth associations which are not merged.
If you will look on page 2, it has a list, and these proposed amendments only address adults. Anything that would address the youth would come through the youth committee to the USBC board. But these proposed amendments to the national bylaws that this assembly is voting on only addresses the adults, and that would be your merged and non-merged locals, whether it's a WBA or a BA, but these are locals that would be given this permission. The reason the states are listed in there is that there is sometime a reference in your state bylaws to local dues. So that would be by codification. But this only impacts adult dues at the local level. Okay.
I understand that, but also in your merged associations, you also have youth included in there, so they have part of that also. But
Okay.
we're just looking to see what we can do because the states do have state dues, and we were kind of hoping, at least I was, that maybe somewhere along the line we might get some release also.
Thank you, Tamara. Now I understand the question. We are, as we've talked about earlier this week, we are looking at the youth membership products for the next 2 seasons, and that is something that is being addressed within that, and the youth committee and the board will address them this upcoming season. But it is not part of this amendment. But with the changes to the membership product, we will address that.
I understand that, and I thank you for that, and we'll look forward in the future.
I think you'll be happy.
Chair would like to recognize speaker at microphone 5 now, please.
Thank you. My name is Dave Davis from the South Jersey USBC BA. This proposal not only removes the cap, but it also removes the oversight provided by the membership. It seems to me if a local association board is unable to convince their membership that they need a dues increase to provide better services, then they shouldn't be given the authority to just mandate that increase without such authority, such approval. If we wouldn't take away that oversight from ourselves to the national board, I don't think we should take away that oversight from the local membership, from our local boards.
Chair would like to recognize speaker at microphone 5, please.
Pat Webster. I'm president of the Indiana State Association. I'm a voting delegate of the Fort Wayne Bowling Association. My point is somewhat redundant, but my biggest concern is that our whole structure, our whole USBC, needs to come from the bottom up. And even at the local level, by going to the board of directors, you're eliminating the authority and what I think is a true requirement to have the voting delegates decide a dues structure for their local association. So that's the reason I will vote to reject this, is who's given the authority to approve or disapprove that, and you are eliminating the local delegate. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair will now recognize the next speaker at microphone 5, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Gary Foreman. I'm the president of Orange County USBC. In full disclosure, I'm also the president of the Southern California Bowling Proprietors Association. Folks, you've all heard Stu Upson's report this morning, okay? And the theme throughout the entire report was sometimes the hardest things to do are the right things to do. We need to run these associations and the state and locals like a business, okay? I'm the treasurer of the Fountain Valley Chamber of Commerce. I'm the treasurer of the Kiwanis Club. Both of those organizations, as well as a state BPA, basically say that the bylaws can be changed by the boards of directors of those associations other than a provision in the bylaws changing the number of directors. Okay, that gives those boards authority to set dues, run the business. Okay, we need to run this place like a business. Okay, does General Motors have to go to the shareholders to find out if they can increase the price of a car? Pete Treadwell said in the awards presentation that lineage has gone up 44% the last 7 years. Do you think AMF and Brunswick have to go to their shareholders to get the price of lineage? Folks, we need, if we're going to keep this organization going, we need to give the board some authority and some power. If you don't like your boards, then I suggest you change them, but we need to give them the power to run the organizations so that we can be nimble and operate these things as a business. Thank you.
Chair will now recognize the speaker at microphone 3, please.
Yeah, I'm Prosper Bosley from Central Solano. My question is just a point of clarification. In our bylaws, we have that on our open meeting, they're the only ones that can change how much we charge. Does that change that part of our bylaws? Does it rule change?
Yes, sir. If this is adopted, any part of any of the bylaws that it would impact and would need to be changed is done by codification based on the action taken by the delegation.
Thank you.
Chair would now like to recognize the speaker at microphone 3, please.
Mr. President, Madam Chair, Ed Woody Woodruff, Greater Pittsburgh USBC President. It's a unique situation that I am involved in, and that is the National Traveling Bowling League, of which, just to give you any background, we have 3 divisions and 18 cities. Now, we just had our board of directors meeting this past weekend in Akron, Ohio, whereas it was discovered that in order for us to receive awards, USBC awards, in any of the divisions that we bowl in, that we must pay a co-association dues. We did so in Pittsburgh. Now, this means that any money that was paid for our co-association dues in Pittsburgh, we get that membership. Now they're talking about other associations within Eastern Division. Youngstown for one, Cleveland for another, and even out of Chicago, they could give us a co-association membership for less money. So if there's not a ceiling and on top of what could be as far as the dues is concerned, then it more or less states that certain associations are going to lose membership in that respect, and they're going to go to others to get it. And that's what's happening with our league in itself. And our league is very unique because this is our 68th year in existence. And I don't know if any other league is like this, but that's the way it is in all the other all the divisions also, that there should be a ceiling so that we can pay the membership, the co-association membership in whichever one at the price that we can afford to pay.
Thank you. Chair would now like to recognize the speaker at microphone 2, please.
Mr. Chair, Yvette Davis, North Carolina State President. I think we put our leaders in our hands that we trust them to do the right thing. So with that, I think we need to support it, and the local associations need to make the decision whether it's right for them, whether or not to go with a dues increase. With that, I ask you to call for the question.
Okay.
Trained her well.
Is there a second? A few of them. Okay. 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 We'll go ahead and conduct this by voice vote. Acceptable? No. Okay, we will do this. Okay, 2 seconds. We will have the polls open. As there has been a call for the question, the required percentage to approve and proceed with the vote would be 2/3. Just give us 1 second here, please.
They have to vote to call the question, and they vote on it. Andrew, you
Yes.
might want to restate what they are voting on, please.
Yes. You're voting on call for the question to bylaws proposal B7. If you approve this vote, you will move and proceed to vote on bylaws proposal B7 as stated as the primary amendment. We need to proceed. Speaker. Do you have a point of clarification, sir?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Whoa. Andrew, I just want to clarify. It says we're calling for the question. Isn't that a majority to call for the question?
No, it is not.
Okay. I thought it was.
It is 2/3.
Okay.
Are we ready? Yes. You are not voting on the amendment. You are voting on the call for the question, which will require us, if approved, to proceed with the vote for Amendment B7. This is not a vote on the amendment. Okay? Okay, the polls are now open. Please press 1 to approve and 2 to reject. And again, you are simply voting on the call for the question. If it is approved by 2/3, we will proceed. Otherwise, debate may continue. Polls are now closed. With a total of 92% for and 8% against, you have approved. We will now proceed with the vote on bylaws proposal B7 as stated in your booklet. The polls are now open. You are voting on bylaws proposal B7 as stated in your booklet. Please press 1 on your keypad to approve and 2 if you wish to reject. The polls are now closed. By your actions, you have defeated bylaws proposal B7. 65. The requirement to pass is 66%. It's 2/3. It must require 2/3. It is a bylaws amendment. The totals are 533 to approve and 281 to reject.
Proposed Amendment B8, USBC National Bylaws, Article 6, Meetings. Yes.
Point of order.
Yes.
Is it not 2/3 majority plus 1? I'm just checking
Yes,
that.
that is-
I'd like to review the number, make sure that there's not a rounding problem there. How many voting
Correct.
delegates
It would
were
be
there?
66.666% to approve.
Yeah. So how many?
2/3.
Can we just recheck the numbers?
How many? Total, we had the total vote counts. I believe it was 814 total votes, and 533 for, and 281 against.
Okay, thank you.
May now proceed.
Proposed Amendment B8, USBC National Bylaws, Article 6, Meetings, Section A, Annual Meeting, Item 7, Action. The USBC Board recommends approval.
Is there any discussion on bylaws proposal B8?
Can I make a point of clarification, please?
Yes, you may.
Just in case you're a little confused, what this says is that in order for you to vote, you must be physically in this room as a certified registered delegate with your appropriate voting material. That's what this says. We're just trying to cover any future technology type voting processes that would become usable. But that's all this says, is that you have to be physically here and a registered delegate in order to vote.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on bylaws proposal B8? Seeing none, we will proceed with the vote. With your keypad, please press 1 if you wish to approve and 2 if you wish to reject. The polls are now open. Okay, polling is now closed. By your actions, you have approved bylaws proposal B8 with a total of 97% for and 3% against. Total vote count of 785 for and 26 against.
Proposed Amendment B9, USBC Merged State Bylaws, Article 2, Nonprofit Corporation and Charter, Section C, Association Dissolution. This proposed amendment is for the Assembly to ratify an action taken by the USBC board, which we are granted the authority to do, and then we bring it to you at the next annual meeting. And this is what B9 is.
Is there
And
any
we recommend approval.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Is there any discussion on bylaws proposal B9? Seeing none, we will proceed with the vote. Oh, apologize. We do have a speaker. Chair will recognize speaker at microphone 5.
Karen Marcatulio, Association Manager, Union County, NJUSBC. I would like clarification because we are incorporated. If you are removing our charter and dissolution, how do you, we have a corporation, we are under New Jersey law. So how do you take our assets?
Those assets were raised by the management of the association to enhance the purpose for which that association existed. Once you have dissolved or your charter has been revoked, your purpose, as was stated, no longer exists. And the people for whom it was raised, the members, and to promote the sport, have been transferred into another association. Therefore, those assets should go forward for the purpose for which they were raised.
However, you do have corporation laws that state that you would not be able to take our assets. That's why there is an incorporation.
Thor, would you like to address that?
Good afternoon. The bylaws of an organization such as a local bowling association, which are adopted as a requirement from the parent association, constitute an agreement between the local association and the parent organization, which is enforceable by the parent. While you may be a separate corporation, your obligations, whether they be to the USBC or the telephone company, remain the same. If you enter into an agreement, you have to abide by it.
Thank you, Thor. Chair will now recognize the speaker at microphone 2, please.
Pauline Armstrong, San Diego USBC. This says USBC merge state and local bylaws. It does not say anything about the ones that are not merged.
The list appears on the second page of the proposed amendment.
But then it should have been included in the top.
No, ma'am, it is there stated at the bottom, if adopted, proposal will be effective immediately, and it lists where it will be effective.
Okay, we'll go ahead and accept it that way. Thank you.
Chair will recognize speaker at microphone 3, please.
Holly Palmer, Cheyenne Women's Bowling Association. If we're not a merged association and then we become a merged association and then we decide that we don't want to be a merged association, I know, confusing because this is in my head and it sounds better in my head. How does this affect becoming an unmerged association?
Once you are merged, you may not become unmerged.
Okay, thank you.
You can't get a divorce.
All right. I'm going to tap this only because I haven't had the opportunity to do so today. And actually, I'm getting a phone call from my wife, so might have to. All right. Chair would now like to recognize the speaker at microphone 5, please.
Roger Limer, First Coast USBC. I'm actually looking for a little bit more clarification. And before I get into that, congratulations. Is this your first?
Yes, it is.
You're in for a rude awakening.
So I've been told.
But my clarification request is that in accordance with our bylaws and our charter that we have, even though it is underneath USBC, we have stipulations in our own charter designating where that money goes, which means in our effect is that it is actually going to other nonprofit organizations as required by 501c3. Does this usurp that and automatically give USBC the right to come in and take that money and pull it back into USBC?
First of all, the money would, there is a percentage that you could transfer to like a scholarship fund. But the majority of your assets are to go to the association that will be taking care of the members that no longer have an association. What was the second part of your question? I'm getting old and it just slipped right out of my mind.
No, what I was making reference to is that when we did do the merger, all of the individual associations transferred all their assets to the new association, which was fine. Everybody was good with that. What I'm saying is that if we disillusion the First Coast USBC within our charter, within our bylaws and our rules in accordance with 501c3, every single dime that we have in our accounts is designated to go to other charities and other 501c3 organizations, every dime of it. So with that said, does this bylaw that you're proposing allow the USBC to come in and usurp our bylaws that we have already in place and take that money?
Basically, what it is allowing us to do is, as your parent organization, we are protecting the members that were in your association that probably helped raise those funds, that they would be transferred to the association that would be taking care of them. There is a percentage that, yes, you may designate to give to another 501c3. This was put in place to protect the members of that association that no longer exist. And yes, it would usurp that.
Okay, well, I have...
And the money does not come to the United States Bowling Congress. It would go to the local association that is taking care of those members. And in the event that they are dispersed elsewhere and there isn't said association, then the funds would go to the state organization. No part of the funds come back to the United States Bowling Congress.
Then I have two other things, or one other thing to go with this.
Sure.
With all due respects to what you say on here, and you specify tournaments, every single dime that my association has raised for my association from tournaments was worked for by my people, by those bowlers, by the people working as board. Not a single bowler out there actually helped me work that tournament. That money should not be available to you. That is our money.
Excuse me, sir. You may have worked those tournaments, but if those members weren't there, there wouldn't have been a tournament. And our responsibility is to the members.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chair will recognize speaker at microphone 2, please.
Frank Barnhart, St. Louis. As any good parliamentarian can tell you, if there's a conflict between bylaws and state or federal law, the state or federal law takes precedence. So that portion of the bylaws would not be valid. For example, a few years back we had a lot of discussion about the election of the president, and Thor mentioned that Wisconsin state law requires that not-for-profit corporations in Wisconsin cannot have their president must be elected by the board. So if you are a incorporated association, not just an association, but an incorporated association in Wisconsin, even though your mandatory bylaws from USBC say that your president's elected by your members, you're in violation of law if you do that, and your president has to be elected by your board. In the case of the money that's being discussed here, I don't know the Colorado laws that the lady refers to, but the typical restriction is that money must go to other 501c3s. And I'm pretty sure I'm right, and they'll correct me if I'm wrong, under the umbrella agreement that USBC has from the IRS, all USBC associations have 501c3 status. So if they take that money, transfer it to the new association that's going to be providing those very same bowlers, that money is going to another 501c3. So you are not in violation of that state law.
That clarification is correct. Chair will now recognize the speaker at microphone 5, please.
David Fields, Greater Pasadena, USBC. Just a clarification on the reason for the proposal, it's listed as a one center association that closes its doors. In that case, the funds would be transferred to the state association. Why would that not be like where whoever absorbed the bowlers from that association, or another local?
If that one center and they were absorbed, then we would want it to go to that local. This is in the event that the state would have to take over and help process members for us. We don't anticipate that happening, but you got to cover it.
Chair will recognize the speaker at microphone 5, please.
Jerry Anderson, Dallas USBC Bowling Association. What did you say those new requirements were going to be to keep your charter?
They will. We will do the promotion, the education in the coming season, and they will be put into place August 1st of 2014.
And they are?
Well, Jerry, let me see if I can rattle them off the top of my head, or I can meet with you later.
I just don't want you coming after me if I don't increase my tournament next year.
Sir?
I just don't want you coming after me. You mentioned them a while ago.
One of them,
his tournament.
Well, the standards are graded. They're graded. One of them is to increase tournament participation based on last year's participation. One is that required board training, which we will provide through the internet.
Excuse me.
Okay.
And they will be put out on the web, and we need to get back to the legislation.
Jerry, this discussion is out of order. Do you have any comments pertinent to bylaws proposal B9 specifically?
It's not out of order because these rules are up ahead of us, and this affects this right here. If you can shut us down because we don't do our tournament right, you can shut us down for anything. Then you come in, and we have to give up. That's what I'm concerned about. That's what this does right here. And not only that, it only concerns the USBC state bylaws. All the rest of them should be at the top of this. Thank you.
Jerry, there are more to the performance standards than that. And as the President stated in his message, they are a tool to help us on both sides. And I take offense at what you just said, and I find it insulting.
Okay. Is there any new discussion on bylaws proposal B9? Chair will recognize the speaker at microphone 2, please.
Mr. Chair, I too find that last statement a little bit offending, and I'm going to call for the question.
There's been a call for the question. We'll proceed. Have a second. I saw a second right here in front. Yes. 5 or 6. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, the polls are now open. As you can see, to call for the question, it requires a 2/3 vote to approve. The polls are now open. Please press 1 if you approve and 2 to reject. Polls are now closed. By your actions, we will now proceed with the vote on bylaws proposal B9. The question has been called, a total of 94% for and 6% against. As we get, do you have numbers? Numbers? I think we could proceed. It was pretty definitive, 94%. 817 total responses. There were 817 total votes That would make it 767 for and 50 against. We will now proceed with voting on bylaws proposal B9 as stated in your booklet. The polls are now open. With your keypad, please press 1 if you wish to approve and 2 if you wish to reject. And again, this requires 2/3 for passage. Polls are now closed. With a total of 74% for and 26% against, you have adopted bylaws proposal B9. 818 total responses, 606 in favor and 212 against.
Thank you. I want to thank you not only for your attention. I've been very pleased. You've been attentive. I've not heard a lot of murmuring. You were definitely well prepared. You either did your homework before you came or you added to that when you attended the workshops and seminars. And I appreciate your attention, but most of all, I appreciate your dedication and love to this sport and to do the right thing. Mr. President, I turn the podium back over to you.
Thank you, Tamara. And I must say that the chair wholeheartedly concurs with everything she just said. Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask if there's any old business to bring to the floor. Seeing none, we move on to new business. Is there any new business? Speaker at microphone 4, please.
I would like to make the comment. I'm Nancy Folden from the Greater Memphis USBC. We as delegates, if we have amendments to submit, must turn them in by September the 1st. This year, it was very late before we saw the amendments that we would be considering. It did not give us time to do for our committees, to recommend to the board, and them to tell us as delegates how to vote and had a meeting. I would like to see you put a deadline on when you have the amendments back to us. And if you do not do this, I will submit it as an amendment next year. Thank you.
Please.
I appreciate her comments, but let me explain why there is a September 1st deadline. Once we receive your proposed amendments, they are sometimes if they come from the field, there are things that we need to work with the proposer, either in cleaning up the terminology or making the proposed amendments more clear. There are also amendments that come from the various committees at USBC and from the various departments at USBC. Our term starts August 1st, and for us to have a September 30th first deadline for the committees of the board to present proposals is not going to do justice to you. Once the proposals are in place, they are sent to the legal counsel for recommendation and discussion. The Legal and Legislative Committee meets the first part of October to discuss the proposed amendments. They are taken to the USBC Board of Directors the end of October for their recommendation. There is usually a follow-up or something that we have to continue working on until our board meeting in January. We get those proposed amendments posted in February as quickly as we possibly can and as effectively and efficiently and clear as we possibly can. I understand, I have been a president of a local and state, and I understand, but the amendments were out this year by the end of February on bowl.com. That was 4 weeks. We do it as quickly as we can, but this is not something you want to do quickly and put it out to you when it is not correct. I understand, but that's the deadline. our time schedule, and you may not have been aware of the things that have to happen to them once we receive them on September 1st.
Thank you, Tamara. Is there any further new business? Seeing none, we will now move on to the nominating committee report. I would now like to invite committee co-chair Darlene Baker to the podium.
Before we get started, I'd like to ask all the candidates to please gather over at the side of the stage, please, so you'll be ready when you're presented. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Andrew, very much. This year's committee, we've spent a lot of time reviewing all the qualifications of all of the applicants that submitted resumes for the director positions this year. Also taken into consideration were the needs of the board based on the remaining members. The committee goes through a very thorough evaluation process to determine the candidates to interview, and then another review process to determine the final candidates. Today, we are presenting a slate of 6 candidates the committee determined best meet those needs for your consideration for the 4 open positions. We're very proud of the objective and thoughtful consideration that the committee gave to all of the candidates. There are also 2 additional candidates which were nominated from the floor. We hope you've reviewed the biographical information in the program book and on bull.com, and the copy that was included in the bag that you received at registration, which included the biographical information on the additional board candidates as well as the slated candidates. We also hope you were able to attend the Meet the Candidates session yesterday to learn more about all of the candidates. All candidates being presented have met the eligibility requirements, and all are registered in the RVP program. Before proceeding further, I'd like to thank the members of the nominating committee, Co-Chair Marcy Williams, Libby Fletcher, Tony Manna, and Dan Patterson. Now I'd like to outline the election procedures for this year, and you'll find the complete procedures on page 24 of your convention program. The electronic voting system will be used by utilizing the keypads you receive for legislative session. The nominating committee presents the following 6 candidates for election onto the USBC Board of Directors in alphabetical order. Anthony Colangelo from Helmetta, New Jersey. Barbara Council Armstead from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Carl Kielick from El Paso, Texas. Mark Martin from Waterford, Michigan. Jan Schmidt from Hales Corners, Wisconsin. And Scott Zeidman from Culver City, California. And the 2 additional candidates nominated from the floor in alphabetical order, Dwayne Ensign from Wichita, Kansas, and Michael Italia from Warrington, Pennsylvania. These are the 8 individuals you will be voting for the 4 positions. Thank you all. You may take your seats. It's now time for you to vote for the open positions on the Board of Directors. And please note that the ballot committee is still sitting with the staff for the electronic procedures and counts, right? You're all still there? Okay. Can't leave yet. You'll be voting on 4 open positions with all 8 candidates eligible to win a spot. The top 4 candidates receiving a majority of the vote will serve 3-year terms beginning August 1st. If the first round of ballots fails to result in 4 candidates receiving a majority vote, the candidate with the lowest vote will be eliminated. Balloting will continue until 4 have reached at least a majority. On your keypads are the numbers 1 through 9, and we will only be using 1 through 8 with the candidates and their numbers to be displayed on the screens. When the voting begins, you will be asked to press the button matching the name of the top candidate you want elected. After a pause to allow the machines to tabulate those choices, you'll be asked to press the button matching the name of your next top candidate. After another pause, you'll be asked to press the button of your next choice. And after another pause, you'll press the button for your 4th choice. Again, candidates need majority vote to be elected, and voting rounds will continue until 4 have been elected. If you have an issue with your keypad, raise your hand and a staff member will help you. After you have voted for your 4th and final candidate, we'll all see the results very quickly on the screens, and this will also be the case if we need more than 1 vote. So please get out your keypads, get ready to vote for the candidates of your choice. Remember, when I tell you to vote for your first choice, press the button corresponding to that candidate, and then wait until I ask for your second choice. Okay? Okay, please choose your first candidate. You're currently voting for your first choice. Okay, please now select your second choice. You should be voting for your second choice. Okay, now select your third choice. And now select your fourth choice. Okay, polls are now closed. Okay, there are 4 candidates that have received a majority vote. Anthony Colangelo, Mark Martin, Jan Schmidt, and Michael Italia. Anthony Colangelo with 489 votes. Barbara Council Armstead, 415. Carl Keelig, 389. Jan Schmidt, 484. Scott Zeidman, 446. Dwayne Ensign, 369. Nope, sorry. I missed a name somewhere. Mark Martin. How did I miss Mark? Mark had 484. Jan Schmidt had 446. Scott Zeidman had 369. Dwayne Enzyme at 73. Sorry, I can only see part of the screen from here. And Michael Italia, 458. So I'd like to thank you for your cooperation through the election process, and now I'll turn it over to Andrew.
Okay. Thank you, Darlene, and congratulations to the newly elected board members. I'd now like to invite USBC Executive Director Stu Upson to the other podium as we begin our town hall meeting. We ask that anyone with questions please move to one of the mics at the front of the room, and we'll do our best to rotate from one mic to another. We also have USBC staff to assist us as the next mic that should be addressed. We now want to open the floor to your questions about any topic. Attendees wishing to speak may do so by following these procedures. Step towards a microphone on the meeting floor and wait to be recognized. All microphones are numbered. Your turn will be determined based on the order in which you approach the mics. I will call on you by announcing the microphone number, similar to how we did in the legislation session. Please state your name and the association you are with. I ask that those of you with more than one comment or question, please wait until everyone has spoken once before getting back to a microphone. We slated about an hour for this session, so let's begin. Microphone 5, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I get to go first. Chrissy Lee, Monmouth County, USBC, Monmouth County, New Jersey. I have a comment first. The comment, this year's seminars, kudos to all of you. They were very informative. I enjoyed them. And I think I heard positive comments from everybody. My comment is a two-parter. I'll be brief. The convention. We love coming out to convention. However, for possible consideration for the future, could you pick 1 week and stick to it? Say the third week in April every year. June, April, next year it's after Easter. It's just for consideration. Maybe we wouldn't care so much where we went if we knew it was the same week all the time. Just the second part, with Tuesday's announcement of Las Vegas. It's a beautiful arena. We can't wait. However, I am from New Jersey. There are 26 states east of the Mississippi. Please consider the East Coast for future tournament dates. Thank you.
Let me answer that, because I'll tell you, we work really hard to try to find East Coast cities who can host us. We really do. We got Syracuse for the Open Championships. We had Syracuse for the women a few years ago. The biggest challenge we have, and I've said this every year, is finding a city that's willing to give us their convention center for 4 to 6 months. So having said that, as we start to look for the women's championships, at least at perhaps now and then going back to commercial bowling centers, that does open up the possibility of more East Coast cities. Can you open up that microphone again?
Microphone 5,
Could I just ask on that point, Stu, who makes the final decision? Who's in charge of deciding where we go?
No, not me. No, the staff does all the legwork, but the board makes the actual decision and votes on the locations.
Chair will recognize speaker at microphone 2, please.
Yvette Davis, North Carolina State President. I would like to say that the workshop this time was really, really good, and I definitely appreciate the President's workshop. There were some that were not offered twice. Could we consider a time where some of the others could be presented at least twice, so it doesn't conflict and you don't have to make a choice on them, that you would still get the option to visit some others?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. What we try to do is the ones who we know are going to be the ones where we know they're going to be the most heavily attended, or there are conflicts, and we might have 2 popular ones at the same time. We try to repeat those. It's just a matter of time and space, but we do the best we can. But it's a good point.
Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker at microphone 5.
Melinda Calvert, Springfield, USBC, WBA, Springfield, Illinois. My comment is we have watched our women's championship tournament decline year after year after year in team numbers when coming to Reno. Because we, as a Midwest state, are now being offered a Midwest tournament to pick up all the teams that are deciding not to come to Reno due to expense from the Midwest. I don't think that is a detriment to bowling. I think that's helping bring back our tournament bowlers. Thank you.
I wouldn't disagree with that, to be honest with you. I think the Midwest tournament is terrific. It is affecting the tournament here, but that's okay. If it's an opportunity for the Midwest women bowlers to do something where they can get to, that's great, and we support that. But it is affecting what's going on here in Reno, but that's okay.
Speaker at microphone 5.
I've registered for Reno for next year. It was quite a process. Karen
Please
Newell,
state your name. Yes, thank you.
Kalamazoo, president of Karen Newell, president, Kalamazoo, Michigan. I registered for Reno for next year. It was quite a process of putting in everybody's name, address, etc. You ask and require an email address. One of our members does not have an email. She does not get on the computer. I tried putting in my email address. It kicked it back out. Said you had to require it. So this is something that needs to be addressed. I ended up putting my work email address in so that it would take it, but everyone does not have email, and to require an email address is not feasible. That's something that I think needs to be addressed for your registration, because it didn't work. And everybody can't put in 2 different emails. I mean, putting in mine, and I thought, well, I'll just take any email that you send her and let her know. And it wouldn't take it. It said, this one's already been used, can't use it, kick it out. Well, if you don't have 2 email addresses to use, what are you going to do?
That's a valid point. We're aware of that. That's a very rare situation. I think. Well, hold on. But okay, at some point, folks, at some point, you got to get caught up in technology. I'm sorry. No, I'm going to take a stand on this, because we cannot, as an organization, from a communication standpoint, stoop to the lowest common denominator. If you don't have an email, find someone who does, because that's the way people are going to communicate in the future. That's the way it is.
Speaker at microphone 2.
Okay.
Hold on,
Bring
please.
it on.
Excuse me, we have a speaker at microphone 2, please.
Hi, Serena Biggs with Greater Kansas City Association. Now that the voting is over, can we hear what the performance standards for the associations are going to be?
Would you like to?
It's premature to do that. There will be a full communication on the performance standards. Seriously, we could be here for hours talking through them and debating them. So that's coming soon.
We will be providing an introduction to those for the 2013-14 season. As I stated earlier, and as Tamara also mentioned, they will not be in effect until 2014-15 as we begin to collect data for those in 2013-14. But we will have all of the procedures and all of the necessary communication outlined as to what those will be, and you will get that as soon as we're prepared to release it and get it out to everyone. Speaker at microphone 5.
Jerry Ledbetter, Southside USBC. Since the majority of people did not attend the Meet the Candidates, is it possible to give the candidates a couple of minutes today, the day of the election, to express them? Sometimes in person makes a better choice.
I think that was the appropriate forum for that, and we have voted and on the current board members and the new board members. So I'm sorry, in the future? Oh, in the future, yes. I think that it's, I don't know if this open forum in this environment would be the most appropriate place. We'll take it under advisement, but I do think that so far in the past few years, the Meet the Candidates session has truly been the best venue and the best procedure for us to hear from those candidates. Speaker at microphone 1.
Don Hildebrand, Wisconsin State USBC Association Manager. We have a very nice state tournament. We have over 2,100 teams, and we've been running into a lot of problems with Challenge League averages. Is there something that could be put on the league application form, a box to check, something or another, where somebody would come up with a definition of a Challenge League and let us know what we can do about it? I know I have the right to readjust averages for people from Challenge Leagues, but it's really getting to a big thing. I don't know if anybody else in the country has problems with those, but we've got a lot of bowlers that were 230 average in house shots, and now they bowl on Challenge Leagues that are not sport because people are not making them a sport league, mainly because they don't want to have to go through having them taped and do everything that they have to do for it. Now they're coming in from a 230 average with a 204 average and coming into tournaments. Is there something that could be looked at and put on the application for the league so that it could be marked? As we had said before, we have the little bowler on bowl.com. If you put something with a trophy or something that may designate it as a Challenge League, it may help tournament managers.
Obviously, of course, the sport leagues are the easiest way to solve that, and I certainly understand the concerns in the challenges in certifying a sport league and those procedures. We'll certainly take a look. We constantly take a look at that. Heard a lot of comments about that, and I do know it is prevalent. Currently, again, though, the best resource we have are the folks that are in those communities that are aware of those leagues, and truthfully, word of mouth about those leagues is the most powerful tool to prevent those problems. But we can certainly investigate more, what more we could do regarding a league application. We can take a look at it, certainly.
Thank you, Andrew.
Speaker at microphone 3, please.
Yeah, my name's Carl Huther, Pikes Peak, USBC, Colorado Springs. I have a comment about the email and the registration. If this is supposed to be one unit, why do we have to have individual emails? We should be able to have a centralized point of contact.
I think that the challenge there is we need to be able to communicate with all of the bowlers on a team. Right now, we're limited to going through the captains for the most part. And that's sometimes good, but sometimes it's bad. And if we really want to be able to communicate with the bowlers and understand what they're doing and follow up with them afterwards, we need their information. And we don't always get that through the captains. That's what we're really trying to accomplish there.
Well, I understand that, but it still should be, you should be able to have one centralized point of contact.
Yeah, I think to the point there, we need to evolve on this. We don't want to get to the point where we're just cutting everybody off and saying you have to do it. But we've been doing that over a long period of time. So at some point, we're going to have to say that online registration and things like that will be the way to get things done moving forward. But I understand the sensitivities to that.
Speaker at microphone 5, please.
Doug Moss, Greater Dayton, USBC. I have 2 questions. I'm not sure if you're going to want to answer them, but here they go. What is the financial impact of localizing the awards? Second question, when is the USBC going to stop doing the honor awards? You've already started with the regular awards. It's just a matter of time before you say you're not going to do the honor scores. And I just want to know if you're going to tell us before you decide to do it.
Okay. The financial impact on the Special Achievement Awards is about 50 cents per member. So of the $10 national dues, about 50 cents goes to the awards. And that's the fulfillment of the awards and the shipping. So all in all, it's meaningful. It's about $800,000 that we spend nationally on Special Achievement Awards. In terms of the honor scores, I'll be honest with you, we're looking at everything. You know, I talked earlier today about changes might be coming. I'm not saying we're doing it. I'm not saying we're not doing it. It would be a board decision. But I'm going to be honest with you, nothing's off the table at this point.
Speaker at microphone 1. Oh, I'm sorry, microphone 4. I apologize. Sorry. Go ahead. Please go ahead.
Hi. I'm Sylvia Broyles, delegate. I have discussed this problem and question with several of the board members, and I had indicated that if it was not addressed in the reports, that I would ask the question on the floor during the Hall of Fame. Our women's championship tournament is declining. But it's not just because of other tournaments. It's because of the service. It's because of the problems that they've had registering. This year, y'all gave us, you were kind enough to report to us the change in the rules. The board met in October, and obviously there was a rule change regarding averages. And we were not notified of that until right before time to go. In asking why the change, we've received several responses, but I would ask, would the USBC Board of Directors reconsider the rule to go 2 years back on women's averages? This is just really, really uncalled for. A lot of us are getting older, and it doesn't affect me, but there are some people who drop their averages 5 pence, 6 pence because they're getting older, not because they're sandbagging. Please reconsider it, because that is going to affect our women's championship tournament.
Thank you, Sylvia. We will certainly take that under advisement. Now the speaker at microphone 1, please. Yes.
John Tenney, Panama City, Florida. Since the BPAA and the PBA can't exist without us, why don't we ever hear from the BPAA and the PBA at this convention? We're all in the same boat, and we'd like to know what's going on with them as well as what the USBC is doing.
We can certainly slot some time in next year for that. We have a significant amount of presentations on the first day, and you know what, as industry partners and collaboratively, what we want to do, and I talk to you a lot about doing things together, and next year you will hear from the BPAA and the PBA.
I would but careful what you ask for, because I know Steve Johnson really well, and we just got to put some time limits on how much time we give him here.
We'll give him an hour. Speaker at microphone 3, please.
Holly Palmer, Cheyenne Women's Bowling Association. Sir, I just really have an issue with the way and I don't mean to beat this, but you never did really answer her question about the email. She said that she tried to put her email in for her other delegate to come here, and it wouldn't take it, and that she had to have 2 emails. Even if she should not have to do that. If she wants to register somebody with her email, with herself and her email, and then somebody else with her email, you should be able to do that in the background. And I think that's what the lady was trying to say, and I think you might have missed that point.
Not entirely, but I think you have a valid point, and it's something we can certainly look at from a systems perspective to make it work. So I hear your point.
Thank you.
Speaker at microphone 5, please.
Armin Bowen, Greater Tampa Bowling Association. My question or more of a suggestion to your open brackets. On the same day brackets, you have your regular brackets for individuals that are 50 years and under, and then you have your senior brackets for 50 years and over. I would like to suggest that you look at the possibility of having a super senior bracket for bowlers 60 years and older. I'm 71, and I'm tired of shooting against these young guys.
Well, sir, to your point, there is a century double, so if we ever bowl together at the same time, good news is we fit. Speaker at microphone 2, please.
Darlene Hatcher from the Onslow County Bowling Association, as well as the North Carolina State Board. My question is in regards to the averages, is the fact that through WinLabs, we can go out there in USBC and bowl.com and get averages and numbers. And you're introducing the new Web Labs, however, but you're allowing bowlers to go in and be able to block their numbers. So we can't get that information on them to verify. Why does USBC allow that?
Point of.
I have no idea.
From
we will take a look at that.
John Paul.
John Paul here?
Yes, John Paul, our managing director.
Go ahead, John Paul.
For everything IT.
Yeah. Hello again. What she's referring to is individual bowlers can call into the BIC and they can request that they get blocked from the Find a Member service. It's more of a privacy concern, but inside Web Labs, that will not be the case. Web Labs will work more like WinLabs. That is your association tool. Because you have a login that keeps that private to you as an association manager, you'll still be able to see everybody, even if they've been marked private on the internet. That privacy is only for the completely public Find a Member service, not for Web Labs. So you'll have the tool that you need.
Will tournament managers be able to see that as well?
Will tournament managers be able to see that as well? Yes? Either way.
There is a way to do that, but the association manager would need to allow, they can open it up. We've made sure that it's very granular on the security, so if they wanted to give a tournament manager the rights to do that, they could do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker at microphone 4, please.
Phil Dickens, Seacoast, New Hampshire, USBC. As a young bowler, maybe the USBC might want to look at doing a like rock the vote sort of thing, or try and get out and vote, get back to the associations. And I know my state has 7 local associations and the state association, and majority of them will not send anybody out here because they don't think that their vote matters anymore. But I think it needs to get back out there that every vote does count, and also that might help get some of the younger bowlers involved a little bit more into bowling.
Would you please send me an email, because I think I hear you volunteering to help.
That does seem to be the problem, that once someone starts to speak up, they are volunteered for something.
Well, please send me an email, andrew.kane@bowl.com.
I'll see about doing that.
Thank you. Speaker at microphone 5, please.
Hi, my name is Dave Davis. I'm from the South Jersey USBC BA. I just want to say I've attended every convention of the USBC, and I attended the annual ABC convention for many years prior to that. I just want to say first, congratulations to the newly elected members of the board. I think they bode very well for the future. Also, I don't know if they're here, but congratulations to the newly inducted members of our Hall of Fame. And also special congratulations to you, Mr. President, and everyone else involved with this year's convention for a job very well done.
Thank you very much. And I'll tell you what, there's one we haven't thanked yet, and I'd like to just take this opportunity to do that. All of our staff, if all of you see them all around, please, you know what? You know, we provide a little bit of direction here, but it's really the staff that makes this run, so I'd like to give them a big round of applause. Speaker at microphone 1, please.
It's regarding, again, the upgraded sports shots, the sports shots versus the house shots upgraded versions. Is it possible that the secretaries submit the results at the end of the league? Because not all secretaries submit. Is that a rule proposal, or is that, can I just say that and be considered that all secretaries submit so that tournament directors can look at all the results?
Are you referring to secretaries submitting the final averages?
Yes.
They are required to do so.
Not all do.
Well, I know they may not, but they are required to. Speaker at microphone 3, please.
Cindy Cookenrider, Milwaukee, WBA. I love this page with all your pictures on here. It really helps me put a name to a face. Just one request. Could you please put on there who was appointed, who was elected, what's the athlete director, who are the proprietor directors? I have no clue. So if you could just put that in there, I would much appreciate it.
Could we could do that right now if you'd like. We could show you. Let's start with the youth committee directors. If you could please stand up. We currently have Frank Wilkinson, Eric Gelgansky, Brenda Green, and our youth ambassador director is Amanda Hollenbaugh.
And they're required to sit together.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah. From the TNBA, Perry Daniels, one of our at-large directors. Another at-large director is not with us, our vice president, Tom Bluth. We also have would our delegate directors please stand up? We have Steve O'Brien, Karen Jost, Deanna Rose, Libby Fletcher, Darlene Baker, Mike Italia, Marcy Williams, Carl Keelick, Joe Diamond, who's sitting over there? Mark Martin, sorry, Mark. and Tamara Adams. I'm sorry? They were all elected, yes, ma'am. Would the athletes please stand up, the athlete directors? Oh, I'm sorry, Carl was appointed to fill a vacancy. I'm sorry. Would all the athletes please stand up? Kelly Kulick, Wendy McPherson, Dan Patterson, Tony Manna, and myself. And now for the proprietor directors. Oh, yes, you have to stand up, too. We have Kathy DeSocio, and she's currently the president of BPAA, and we have John Lucido, who runs fantastic tournaments. And if you want to know why we call him Alejandro, see him in the lobby. But yes, we can do that for the convention program next year, correct, Stu?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm writing it down.
All right. Speaker at microphone 5, please.
My name's Forrest Cole. I'm delegate out of the great state of Wyoming. And on the awards deal that everybody's talked about here, I don't think anybody here should be too surprised, because when USBC was first formed, I know it was stated that they wanted to make sure they were not known as an awards organization. That was in writing back at that time, so it shouldn't really surprise anybody that this is happening. But the local associations, I do believe, can come up with a lot better awards than what we've received the last couple of years.
Speaker at microphone 1, please.
Yes, John Koziel from Chicagoland, USBC. I had a bowler approach me with a concern, and I wasn't sure how to properly phrase this. Regarding our Open Championships going to different cities, he had asked me why it was such difficult to go to other cities, and I said, well, they roughly have to build a stadium in the new cities, which is approximately $1 million or 1.2 million. I'm not sure if that's the correct figure. And he says, well, you're coming back to Reno every year that does not have to build a stadium. Why don't they reduce the entry fee for those tournaments? Or where does that $1 million go that's not used to build a stadium in a new city? And do cities like Reno and Las Vegas, who already have it, do they have an unfair advantage over getting new cities? It's just a curiosity. I didn't know how to respond to him after that.
That's a very fair question. The difference is, at the National Bowling Stadium, we pay lineage, and we will pay lineage at the arena in South Point too. We get a great deal, so the money we might get from the city, the subsidy, will go to pay lineage. So either we're paying lineage in the city, or we're paying for construction of the lanes at the convention center. Does Reno and Las Vegas have an advantage? Perhaps, because they have existing facilities, and it is a little cheaper to pay lineage than to pay $1.5 million, or really what it costs us to build out and tear out the lanes.
Thank you.
Speaker at microphone 2, please.
Dale Bowles, St. Louis. Andrew, I talked to you on the lunch break, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but did you find an answer where the convention will be in 2015?
We have not made a final decision on convention
thank
for
you.
2015. Speaker at microphone 3, please.
Thank you. My name is Donna Martin from Waukesha, Wisconsin.
I am the association manager there and also the tournament directors. And we just had all of our tournaments in December, January, February, like most everybody else. And this is probably a question for John Paul. But I'm wondering, back to that challenge in sport, I had probably at least 30 bowlers that I needed to re-rate because of this challenge and sport league. Some of them are very, very honest and they come up and say, I need to be re-rated. However, I'm not God and don't know that some of these bowlers need to be re-rated. Is there going to be a way in the new Web Labs program that we can differentiate the average from that sport league or that challenge league? Are we going to be able to tag that somehow and that way we'll be able to know? Thank you.
John Paul, did you have an answer for that? Oh, you stood up.
So you know, John Paul and all of his staff are wonderful.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that.
I owe you $5, I think, now. Unfortunately, I don't have every screen or everything committed to memory. If Lucy was still here, I'm sure Lucy could give us a perfect answer. I will look at it and email you and let you know. There should be some way to look up the data. You're right. There should be some way. I just don't have the screens committed to memory.
Speaker at microphone 5.
Roger Limer, First Coast USBC. I have something for next convention that I think would be really interesting, which would be a Where Are They Now? Specifically referring to our Chuck Hall Awards, Alberta E. Crow Awards, and possibly the people who got the Youth Ambassadors, to give some background about where they went after we recognized them and what they're doing today. I think it'd be interesting.
I like that idea. Send me an email. I hear you volunteering. and just so you know, I can't. I'm not 100% sure if anybody else is anybody on the board. Chuck Hall, Alberta Crow. Well, I know that, but I'm just asking first. Linda Barnes was on our board. She was as well. Yeah. Some of our staff are. Yes, correct. Okay. Yeah. There's Brent. Brent, you want to raise your hand? Stand up. He's voting delegate right here. Chuck Hall Star of Tomorrow. Brent, what year was that? That was just a couple years ago.
2 years ago.
You're not very old, I know. That's correct. He is on our youth committee as well. You are a busy gentleman. I'm sorry to embarrass you, Brent. Speaker at, let's see, where were we at here? Microphone 1, please.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Danny Arsu. I'm from the capital area, Raleigh, North Carolina Association, and I have a question of just concern. I noticed that there was a lot of money being spent every year by the USBC in mailing out our fine USBC cards. And this has been a problem with a lot of the local associations as far as sometimes they get them, sometimes they don't, sometimes they're late. Now, I have in my pocket a Social Security card, and I'm sure everybody else does have one. I also have in my pocket a USBC card, and I have it because I get free slot play. But anyways, what I'm asking is, has it ever been brought up to you that maybe we should have one number universally for us, just like a Social Security number, send out one card one time, and the associations would take care of submitting the payment yearly to re-up that card, to cutting down that mailing those things every year?
You're referring to maybe perhaps a permanent card, not something with the year on it? Just a permanent card with your number?
You don't really need the year on it, because anything that you're associated with, a league, is going to know whether you paid the dues or not, because the secretary will know. Any tournament you go into will also have it. I was just looking at the thing of not having to do it on your end as much as it would be to the local associations that are supposed to take care of that in the first place.
Sure. It's something we can consider.
Yeah, and actually we have looked at that. The challenge is what you just alluded to, is how you verify that that member is current, that they're paid up and active. So it's a systems issue, so we'll have to take a look.
Well, it would seem to be that even if you did like the local states do for your licensing and send out to each association or each league secretary a sheet of pull-off stickable stickers to go on that card, it would be a lot cheaper than sending them every year to everybody.
It's something to look at as levels of complexity to it, but I wouldn't rule it out.
Microphone 2, please.
Joan Jenkins, Warren, Pennsylvania. This is for Stu. I kind of live in a remote area, and some of us do not even have a satellite TV. We still have dial-up phones. You ought to get an email in my area.
You could relocate. Point taken.
All right. Microphone 5.
Thank you, Andrew. Bob Ashley, Nation's Capital. First off, I want to echo Mr. Dave Davis' statement. A very well-run convention. Thank you all. On that, first off, do you know when 2015 will be decided? Because we have to start putting down time slots for 2015 open in 2014. And if it's going to be anywhere close to El Paso's, those of us may want to try to do this in one trip.
Yeah, it is something that the board would decide at the October board meeting of this year.
Okay, good. And now that you have the tournament sites going down, another 12 years, is there a reason why we can't get the convention sites a little more in advance that, again, we can plan if it's going to be at a tournament site, again, trying to get everything down to one trip. I know you've done a great job this year and next year to have it here with both tournament sites, and so hopefully more of our delegates will be able to adjust their tournament dates to come to convention, which certainly that's what I did this year in bringing 5 teams. And for Sylvia, the Open is also doing a 2-year average go back, so we're all affected here. But, well, hey, it caught us by surprise too, so, but at any rate, thanks again everyone for a great convention.
Thanks, Bob. Speaker, microphone 3.
Good afternoon, Deborah Dickerson, Metro Detroit, USBC. I have a question along the lines of the guy with the certification cards. This season, when I received my certification card, it eliminated my middle initial. I've had that middle initial on my certification card for 35 years. I also know of other people who had suffix names that were eliminated, people that may have a senior, a junior, and a third in their family. Then how do you differentiate, and how did that happen?
Stu, are you taking notes?
I'm writing that one down. Yeah. We'll look into that. I don't know the answer to that, why those things aren't showing up or what's in the system that changes that, but we will
Because
investigate.
again, this season I ended up with 2 cards. Last season we had 3 cards.
Okay. Last season there were definitely, as I said, some big vendor issues. But I think what you're talking about here is probably more our database, because we supply the information to the vendor, but I don't know that for sure, so I will investigate that.
Speaker at microphone 4, please.
Oh, sorry. J.C. Online from New York City, USBC. Our association pre-prints the cards. Some leagues submitted their cards in early and didn't get their sanctioned cards until February. We cannot continue to do this. The bowlers, look, we paid you in September. What is taking so long?
You didn't get your cards till February?
That is correct. There are certain bowlers that did not get their cards until February. I got mine the day for my birthday, which is in March.
You know, we made pretty good improvements this year in getting the cards. Hold on. Wait, listen to me, please. We made some good improvements this year in terms of getting the cards out on time. Lots of exceptions. Getting them in February is not acceptable. I will also tell you this, though. For half of the calls that we get about not getting my cards in time were because they were not processed correctly. It happens, I'm telling you. We've had lots of calls, I didn't get my card, and they were never processed. So I think it's a bigger issue of the entire system and the way we handle it. But on our end, we will make every effort to improve with work with our vendor to make sure cards get out in time when we get the information.
Thanks.
Speaker at microphone 5.
Robert Jensen from the Brazos Valley USBC in Texas. My question is related to the nominating process. May I ask first how many people in the United States applied to take a director position this year?
Darlene. Hang on 1 second. We'll have Darlene, our nominating chair.
For the Board of Directors, we received 15 applications.
Thank you. I was a bit confused yesterday during the during the candidates forum when Mr. Italia had to run from the floor only to find out that he had actually applied through the normal process and met the deadline. If we only had 15 people that apply for 4 positions, why do y'all have a requirement that that the committee can only put forth up to 2 people per position when there's only 15 people that were interested? And past that, there were 2 available positions left because the committee only put up 6. So I'm still confused with why Mr. Italia and anybody else that met the minimum requirements, you still had another position were not put forward as a recommendation from the committee. It would make better sense to let anybody that's interested in serving, that if they meet the minimum requirements, whatever they may be, that this delegation should be able to make that decision and not be the board not making that decision on who they wish to be on the board. Because that's what it appeared to me, that's the impression I got, was that for whatever reason, whether it's something with Mr. Italia or something with the board, that for whatever reason he was not, there was a reason why he should not be serving another term.
The board approved the election process in the policies that states the nominating committee may submit up to 2 candidates for each position open. The nominating committee has the option of submitting 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 total candidates for 4 open spots. We go through a very extensive process. We evaluate. We get feedback for the incumbent board members. We get feedback from the officers and any committee chairs from which they chair. There's a set of criteria we ask them to rate them on, and we review them. And we review all of the candidates that we receive resumes from. They're reviewed 2 different times and ranked. And we look at the needs of the board members that are on the board. Sorry, I don't mean to ignore you guys. We review the remaining board members that are not up. And we look at the mix of the abilities and talents that we have and what we are missing and what we need to focus on. And after we go through the interviews and all of the processes of evaluation, the committee determines the ones that they wish to present to you. By only submitting 6, that was our choice as a committee. We don't look at the candidates as the individual people. We take the people out of it and we look at their skill sets that they bring in. Has nothing to do if we like them or don't like them or anything else. We're evaluating the needs of the board to move forward at that time based on what we will be losing and what's remaining on the board. They have the option to run from the floor just like everybody else does if they are not slated, because if they feel they still meet those needs, we are not eliminating them from being able to run.
I guess the only question I would have then is there any way in the future that you could, my first impression was that Mr. Italia did not meet the deadline, and that was where I was focusing my comments to yesterday. Is there a way to let us know that when somebody's running from the floor that they did meet that deadline, so that is not on anybody's mind? Because if my understanding is correct, you can run from the floor if you miss that deadline. Is that correct? Or no?
I'm sorry, I was getting some feedback from Mike, so I didn't hear your last
Someone,
statement.
am I correct that someone can run from the floor if they fail to meet the deadline?
Yes, they may.
So, from my perspective, my immediate thought was that Mr. Italia had missed that deadline. Had I not
That
gotten
is an option. That is one situation where they may run from the floor. It's not the only situation. And I don't know that it's fair to the incumbents or any of the candidates that did submit their names and may not have been slated to be identified as someone who was not slated, and that's why they're running from the floor. I don't think we want to put targets on anyone and say this is this kind of a candidate, they're running from the floor because of this, and this candidate's running from the floor because of that. I think bottom line is the nominating committee does its job, it submits the candidates, and anyone has the option to run from the floor. Now, you all as delegates have every right to come up and talk to the candidates and ask them their situation, but I don't think it's right of the nominating committee to publicize that, because that is then influencing your right to pick the candidate you feel is most qualified.
That's fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Speaker at microphone 2, please.
Marcia Hawker, Vice President, Greater Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, USBC. Last year I spoke on the floor about the women not being back in Vegas, and I'm happy to see that we're going back. I just wanted to make a comment that we're still getting less teams coming to the women's because of the cost to coming to Reno, and it's like half the cost for us to fly to Vegas than to Reno. So you can be assured that we will bring more teams to Las Vegas than what we're currently bringing to Reno. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker at microphone 3, please.
I just had a question about my sanction because I'm a league secretary. I'm John Stepke, Executive Vice President of Florida Space Coast. If I go back right now and use my credit card and get my card, my new card, is it good for next summer to bowl in a national tournament?
No.
Because last year I bought my card in July. It says 13-14.
Correct.
And I bowl in a national tournament in 4 weeks. So if I don't buy a card when I get home, I don't have a card.
If you have a valid card right now,
It's good until,
if you have a valid card for this season, it would be good. It would be good for tournaments until October of this season. However, if you were to purchase a new card right now, it would not be valid any longer if you were to bowl at the same time next year, unless you purchased a card in the 13-14 season.
yeah, we have about 90 people in the league, and some of them purchased it last summer.
Then
So
it would
it's
be good
not
until
good for this summer?
No, this year it will be. If
Okay,
they
just
purchased
this
it
year?
last summer, the
bill-
change in the legislation does not go into effect until this season. Anybody that
Okay.
purchases a card right now, it is good until July 31st of 2013. If they purchased it last summer, it is good until July 31st of 2013. If they purchase it now, I'm sorry, if they purchase it after that, it would be good for 2013-14.
Okay. And I was just going to say something about awards, about national awards, like 300s and all that. Before you think about eliminating them, I would say think about making them once in a lifetime.
When Stu said that nothing
mean,
was
I've
off
been-
the table, that simply meant that everything was open for
Yeah.
consideration, but
I
we
haven't been
certainly,
yeah.
we certainly take everything into
I
consideration.
haven't been a secretary for very long, 4 years, and a lot of the people that have bowled a 300, like one guy, this is his third, and I asked him, do you want me to put it in for a ring? And he just said, no, I had a ring, but he could have got another ring, and that's a cost that, doesn't seem like we should bear.
He can donate the cost as well.
Yeah, that's what he did. He donated it to
Good.
one of those, but he got the 800 ring because that was his. you know. But before eliminating, I would suggest that we do that in our association, our local. A lot of the awards are once in a lifetime because they're pretty expensive. We give shirts and stuff. So,
We'll definitely take that into consideration.
All
Thank
right.
you. Speaker, microphone 4, please.
Dorothy Apple, Tri-County Illinois USBC Association. I'm the association manager. We're a merged association, and I just have a question about the youth awards. You gave us plenty of lead time for our adult awards, going away and having to buy. Why did we get that kind of lead time for our youth? Our youth in our association love getting the patches and the pins, and now we have to go to them this year and say, no. We, as a local association, will be providing them something, but I was just wondering why there wasn't more of a lead time for us.
The board made the decision in conjunction with the support from the recommendation from the youth committee, and the primary reason was to be able to get a new membership product for the youth out into the field as quickly as possible. You know, obviously there's a lot of research behind it, and Frank, if you'd like to speak to any of it, you may, as the chair of our youth committee, but you know, we definitely took a good hard look at this decision on the recommendation of the youth committee, but we want to be able to move the youth forward. We have a very flexible structure, and we definitely want to get them something out there that they can use.
Okay, so my next question is, though, that they're still paying $17 to certify. 15 of it goes to you. What are they getting for their $15?
There's
a shirt?
Currently a jersey, an average, the ability to bowl in tournaments, scholarship opportunities. There's a lot that goes into that package. Am I missing anything? There's a lot that goes into that package, but that's part of what's being reconsidered for the 14-15 season as part of the new product. We're taking a look at everything and to see what's appropriate and what's not. And again, in conjunction, the awards, you know, a lot of the research done, the kids really value the recognition, and whether it's patches, it's magnets, it's any of those items, you know, what's really important is for them to have the opportunity to be recognized and the opportunity to learn how to bowl better and grow in our sport. So we really want to be able to refocus on that for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker at microphone 5, please.
Dale Matthias, Greater Yellowstone Valley out of Billings, Montana. Stu, this is for you regarding USBC cards. I have a lot of bowlers in our association this year that did not get cards. They also come to me, and I called USBC and says I need another card reprinted and sent back to them. They still didn't get that one. It's not a good situation because I have bowlers coming to me and say, why? I had a bowler wanted his card, I reprinted his card, he'd sit there and tore it up right in front of me. Here's an idea for you to think about on the cards. Okay, so get them to them once a year, but send out the first card, but give the associations a chance to put a sticker on there to update the card for the year so that there is no need to resend those cards back out. All it takes is a label, a little label to put across there, and that's it. That'll mean that they've got an updated card. It goes to USBC, and it shows that they're paid for, but this way they have a current showing card.
Okay, we'll take a look.
Speaker, microphone 2.
Good afternoon, Chris Hall, Carson Country, USBC. I'm a brand new association manager, loving the convention. Stu, this is just a comment for you, and I don't want to be contributing to a can of worms, but to the good people who are saying that they don't have or can't get email because of technical limitations in their area, I want to ask them if they have a cell phone. Because if you have a cell phone, you can get an email address and a free one. There are lots of places that offer it, and you can access your email on your cell phone. Okay, now here comes the can of worms.
Thank you. Speaker at microphone 1, please.
John Tenney, Panama City again. I understand there were several charters that were suspended or withdrawn last year. How many of those charters were reorganized, or how many of them were franchised?
Not sure what you mean by franchised. Do you have the exact numbers? I do? Okay.
Of the associations whose charters were revoked, at this time, there is only one association that is undergoing the franchise test. And that's because it was a large association and there was not an association in a reasonable area that could absorb that number of members. The other charters that were revoked, those members have been moved into existing associations. But there is only one franchise test that is being currently run.
And if I could add to that, there are many associations that had issues with the IRS for not filing the 990s, and we've been working very closely with a lot of them to try to get their 501c3 status back. So we just haven't gone ahead and said, sorry, you have to pull the charter. There are some cases where there was miscommunication between the association and the IRS, and so we're working to get that fixed. It's not always going to work because sometimes the damage is too great.
Speaker at microphone 5, please.
Laura Heller, Rockford, Illinois, WBA. Just some questions on some things that happened in workshops and workshop registrations. We were asked to pre-register for workshops and had been told that there would be tickets issued to those workshops. Upon entering registration, we were told that all workshops were open seating and tickets were not required. 2 workshops, I was unable to obtain a seat, and I left of my own accord. 1 workshop, I stood because I wanted to be there. Is there some way that this can be resolved, that there'll be enough seats, or at least those people that pre-registered for those workshops will be able to be seated? Question number 2 regards this room this morning. I was one of the people that was down here by 8 o'clock this morning when the doors were open, only to find that probably over a third of the seats had already been seized, assigned, taken, pre-assigned, and I wanted to know when that was done, because it was my understanding that we would not be admitted to this room until 8 o'clock this morning. And if we could have done it yesterday, then maybe we should have been advised that we could do that yesterday.
I think that's a point taken. I think we have to look at the entire seating system for next year, because all those reserve seats were done yesterday when people came in. So we need to find a solution to that. And I've had several other suggestions about that, and so we'll find a solution on both of those points.
Speaker at microphone 4, please.
Nancy Folden, Greater Memphis Area USBC. Over a year ago, one of the associations in our locality had their charter revoked. They were given to us, and we have absorbed them and done well, but there has never been any money received. And there was a 30-day limit. Will we ever get any money out of that association?
Tamara's going to answer it. Tamara, you have an answer? Or a comment?
I'm going to try. The transfer of the assets was just implemented by the board in January. If you will talk with me later or get this information to Mike Spritko so that we are aware of this, I would appreciate it. Can you do that? Where's Mike?
No, she's right.
Right here, Tamara, right in front of you. Here, Tamara.
Oh, sorry. It's kind of hard to see. If you can meet with me after the convention or when we close and let me know, I want to write down your name and your association, and Spritko's coming up right behind you. He'll take care of you.
Thank you, Tamara.
Speaker at microphone 5.
I'm Jim Myers from the Lake Geauga Bowling Association. Our association has received one of the letters that our 5013C has been revoked. We've had, we went through our paperwork from ABC to USBC. They said that the numbers were, and the names did not correspond, but we have filed the correct forms with our independent CPA. We have been in contact with USBC, and we've been asking, for clarification when, how. This has started in August, and we still have not received anything that we are still, a good member.
I think this is I'm sorry? Okay.
Well, I think, yeah, it's until the IRS rules that you have your 501c3 back that we couldn't then recharter you.
Okay.
So it's really, we can help and connect you with the IRS people, but it's not our decision, it's an IRS decision.
I understand it. We understand this IRS decision.
Yep.
And they, with the people that we've talked with at USBC and with the IRS, they said that we finally got somebody that understands that the names were changed, and that's where the problem lies. And it's been 6 months now since we've been going through this. Is there any process that we can help with?
If you look over your left shoulder, you will find Sharon Moen.
Scary,
just by
isn't
coincidence.
You're correct. The IRS is way, way behind on all of this, obviously. There's ongoing like 6 months to 9 months. Some associations, it's been 9, 10 months and they haven't heard anything yet. I did talk to a lady here who just heard back from the IRS and just got theirs reinstated. So we're working with the IRS, especially with ones like yours where the EIN number was not being reported, the same as we're reporting you as part of our group exemption and you're reporting your 990 report. So we are working with them. The IRS now has appointed one person to work with us and our legal counsel, so we're making real strides with you guys. So if you get a notice from us that you, and from the IRS, that your charter could be in jeopardy, please make sure that you respond to us and you let us know. That's when the associations get the most in trouble, unfortunately. So work with us. We're going to work with you. We're trying to help.
Okay, thank you very much.
Really quickly, I'd like to let Thor respond to you, sir, as well. He'll have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again. The reason I jumped up and was a little antsy and wanted to respond is I just received within the last 24 hours a further communication from the IRS. Basically, there are three categories here. There are associations that simply failed to file the 990, and despite warnings and its offers of assistance from USBC, they haven't filed the 990, and they have been, they've had their 501c3 revoked by the IRS.
Yes.
There are other local associations who actually did file the correct paperwork, and believe it or not, the government lost it. We're in the process of working to identify those associations, and I'll come back to that point very briefly in a moment. There are other associations who failed to file the 990 but have sought out the assistance of USBC, and they're in the process of filing for reinstatement. As to the latter two categories, the ones where the government lost your paperwork or claims it just can't find it, and those that have applied for reinstatement, we have finally succeeded in convincing the IRS to appoint one liaison officer who will be handling all of this. Part of the problem, and part of the problem some of you may have experienced, or others who you work with, other associations, is the fact there was not one person at the IRS who was assigned to deal with this. We convinced the IRS to assign one person to deal with it. If you have any questions, please get in touch with USBC. We're about a better streamlined process, but guess what? The check is not yet in the mail. So it's going to take a little while. Be patient. But the USBC is working with the associations, and if you have an issue, get in touch with Sharon or somebody else working with her, because we now have the IRS very sensitized to helping the local associations get reinstated. And we actually have some standard form documents we've provided to USBC, so you don't have to go out and hire somebody else to help you.
Thank you.
Speaker, microphone 2, please.
Jay Derryman, Pennsylvania State USBC Youth. Kudos to the board for making some tough decisions on achievement awards, not only for the youth, but also for the adults. I encourage you to go back a few years and recall when you changed the lifetime awards to once in a lifetime, then revoke that decision. I encourage you to make another tough decision since you've already had enough criticism. Face it all at once. Change it again back to once in a lifetime, please.
Thank you, Jay. Speaker, microphone 5.
Jerry Anderson, Dallas USBC Bowling Association. The Franchise Association was mentioned a while ago. Can you explain how the Franchise Association test works? How are they running the association?
In the simplest terms, the Greater Fort Worth Association, the charter was pulled. USBC headquarters staff then worked with other people in Greater Fort Worth to create bylaws. And they elected a board. The association manager.
Who elected the board?
The members.
The members of the association.
Correct. No? All right, I messed that up. Come on up, Tamara.
Good move, Stu.
I will give you a brief overview, mainly because this is a test, and the reason you run a test is to find out what works and what doesn't work. The franchise test at first struggled because it was a very new concept and it is different, but it's doing quite well now. Their association manager is a young man. The awards and membership processing and league processing is being turned around in a shorter amount of time. It's a very small board. That's one of the objections of the franchise test. The board is now stable. They have a good president in place. We're pleased with how it's going, but there's still things we need to learn about it. In the event that down the road we could use it in other situations, or even maybe down the road there would be small associations that would opt to go under this type of franchise. And that's about all I can discuss with you right now because it is a test. But like I said, when it first started, there were some rocky roads. The board directed that the Legal and Legislative Committee keeps in close contact with the Rules Department. The committee receives updates about every 6 weeks. We update the board. And so I will tell you that I'm pleased with the way it's going because it's a very bold, different concept. And that's about what I can share with you, Jerry.
So the board was appointed by the board of the USBC?
No, for this concept, Jerry, the part of the test was that basically to get the test going, the USBC Rules Department solicited people who were interested not only to run for the board, but to hold the association manager position. They kind of went through an interview process. They also went through a training process so that they understood what their jobs were and what their responsibilities are.
But they have not had a membership meeting at all?
They do not. Under the franchise test as it is being tested, does not do that.
Thank you, Tamara. Speaker at microphone 5.
It's Ray Vogel, Monmouth County Bowling Association, New Jersey. This is for all the attendees here that are on Facebook. The newly elected director, Anthony Colangelo, a little over a year ago, set up a Facebook page for association managers and officers to discuss bowling issues. If you would like to join, send us an invitation. It's USBC Managers and Officers page, and also USBC has their own Facebook page for discussions, and it's USBC Leaders page. You're welcome to come. Just ask to be accepted, and we'll include you in the group. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Speaker microphone 5.
Hi, Matt Favreau with Fairfield County, Connecticut, USBC, and the Connecticut State Association. There seems to be a lot of resistance to the technology changes that have been slowly but surely embraced over the last few years, and I applaud the board for embracing them. It might help if we had some way to see the quantifiable benefits that the technology improvements that have been realized already and that we wish to realize in the future, how much that actually goes to affect the bottom line, how much it affects on a per member basis, and overall to the association. Basically, either we continue to grow and change and evolve with technology, and as it is, we've been playing catch up more than we've been ahead of the curve. Either we grow and change and embrace this to keep our expenses down, or we have to pay for the privilege, so to speak, or inconvenience of keeping with the old regime and the old way of doing things. So perhaps some kind of a report on how technology has helped save a lot of expenses towards the bottom line would be helpful, either as a workshop or as a quick report next year. Thank you.
That's a good idea. Thank you for that. I don't see any other comments, but at this time, Carl, you had one? Carl Keelig?
First off, I want to say congratulations to Tony, Jan, Mark, Mike. I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to serve you for the last year and a half and for the remainder of the term. It's been an absolute pleasure. I want to thank this great board of directors behind me for all the support and the trust that they provided me over the last 2 years. Thank you so much. It's been a blast.
Thank you, Carl. Well, folks, seeing no other comments, I know where this is going. Where's the hat? There we go. We're reusing the bags.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
Lowell Lugren, Washington State USBC. First of all, as a father and a grandfather, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
I'm part of our veterans out there that are coming home injured. I'm starting off this donation of BVL with $100. I'm passing the hat around.
We need a bag up here.
If I get some help. They deserve the support. As you can see, our numbers dropped in the donations last year. Karen. If anybody has any extra, I want to thank registration. They gave us 6 bags to help out collect the money. So I figure it'd be better me spending the money this way instead on the tables outside. So.
I don't know if they'd agree with that upstairs, but in this room, I think you're probably right.
That's too bad. Our veterans are more important.
Well said. Oh, yes.
Lowell, just so you know, Lowell, you started it with 100.
Yes, I did.
I'm matching you.
Thank you, darling. Another 100 back here.
Greg Green, are you in the audience? Is he? Greg Green? One of our membership organizations, as I mentioned before, Perry comes to us to this board as a member of the TNBA, and just wanted to acknowledge that Greg Green is in attendance. He's the new president of TNBA. Greg, are you here still? Okay, if anybody gets an opportunity, say hi to Greg, welcome him, and chat him up a little bit. I don't see Greg. Okay. All right, everybody. It's been a wonderful convention again. Thank you so much for your attention, your attendance. thank you to all of our staff once again. You know, they put this together, and without them, we certainly couldn't provide you with the meeting that we have. One more round of applause, please. I will. I'm going to. On advice of legal counsel, I may. Yes. Yeah. I'll try to get it out. Bull.com is that? No, I don't know if that's appropriate. Yeah, my wife might kill me. I'm not sure she'd be happy with that. Actually, I do have to tell you real quick. She made a really big deal the other day. I've been putting furniture together for the last week and a half. It's been driving me crazy, and my power screwdriver died. So you imagine what it's like to turn 96 wood screws by hand. But we got we've been in this discussion about going home onesies. And we settled on one at my urging. It says recently evicted. So try to get a picture of that for you if we can. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. That concludes this year's annual meeting's business. Many thanks to the staff again for all of their hard work in making this convention happen. And thank you to all of you being here. We hope to see you all again next year. And please note, I know some of you are already leaving the ballroom, please give your voting devices to staff at the doors only. You cannot leave the building until you'll do this. That said, we are adjourned.